AMD stock closed Tuesday at about $166.62, finishing the session with a gain of just over 2%. That move may not look spectacular compared to some of the breakouts we've seen this year, but it's important. It tells us that even in a choppy market, investors are still assigning real value to the catalysts driving AMD's story forward. What made Tuesday particularly interesting wasn't just the price action, but the headlines backing it up: a new partnership with IBM in quantum-centric computing, a bullish analyst upgrade from Truist Securities, and growing chatter that hyperscalers are beginning to view AMD as a core player in AI, not just a discount alternative to Nvidia. This combination of momentum, partnerships, and recognition is exactly the sort of cocktail that keeps a stock moving higher, even when the broader environment is full of uncertainty. So let's start with the IBM announcement. The two companies revealed they're collaborating on what they call quantum-centric supercomputing. Now, this isn't about AMD suddenly becoming a quantum computing powerhouse. IBM has been at the forefront of quantum research for years, while AMD has spent its time building CPUs and GPUs that power everything from PCs to data centers. The significance here lies in combining those strengths. IBM has the quantum expertise, AMD has the silicon and the software stack to make large-scale compute practical. Together, they're looking to build hybrid architectures, supercomputers that don't just crunch traditional binary problems, but also leverage quantum techniques to tackle problems that classical machines struggle with. While no new product is being sold yet, the signal matters. It places AMD alongside IBM in one of the most forward-looking segments of technology. That sends a message to hyperscalers, research institutions, and governments that AMD isn't just reacting to the AI revolution, it's trying to shape the next one. And with a live demonstration expected later this year, this collaboration could produce tangible proof points sooner than many expected. Then there's the Truist upgrade. Analyst William Stein moved AMD from a hold to a buy, and raised his price target from $173 to $213. That's a big jump in expectations, and not the kind of thing Wall Street does lightly. Stein's reasoning was clear: hyperscale data center customers are no longer treating AMD as an afterthought or a cheaper plan B. They're increasingly viewing AMD as a partner with credible, scalable AI infrastructure. Stein pointed to the company's CPU trajectory. Just a few years ago, AMD's server CPU share was practically negligible. Now, it's pushing toward 21% in certain segments, and the revenue share is even higher thanks to premium products. On the GPU side, he sees AMD's MI355 chips potentially capturing as much as 10% of the data center AI market, a space that has been overwhelmingly dominated by Nvidia until now. For investors, this kind of validation is powerful. It says that the long hours AMD has spent building ROCm, refining the MI300 and MI350 series, and marketing itself to big cloud players are starting to pay off. And that ties into the broader competitive narrative. For years, Nvidia has been the only serious name in AI accelerators. AMD was the maybe someday competitor, often dismissed as lacking the software ecosystem to compete. But sentiment is shifting. Hyperscalers are openly exploring AMD's offerings, not just as backups, but as integral parts of their infrastructure planning. That doesn't mean Nvidia is suddenly vulnerable to being displaced. It still has the lion's share of the market and deep software entrenchment. But it does mean AMD's story is changing. It's no longer just we'll fight for scraps. It's we can win meaningful share of the biggest growth market in tech. Put all of that together, the IBM partnership, the Truist upgrade, and the competitive landscape tilt, and Tuesday's move makes sense. AMD rallied because the narrative around it is getting stronger. Each piece reinforces the idea that this isn't just a stock tied to cyclical PC sales or mid-tier gaming chips. It's an AI and compute infrastructure company being recognized by serious players in the industry. Looking ahead, the question becomes how much staying power this momentum has. Investors will want to see follow-through in actual results. Partnerships and upgrades create buzz, but adoption and revenue confirm the story. That's where AMD's upcoming quarters, and especially its Analyst Day in November, will come into play. Management will have to show the market not just that they have partnerships, but that those partnerships translate into product demand and share gains. From a technical perspective, AMD looks to have support in the $162 to $165 zone, with resistance around $170 to $172. If the stock can build a base here and push through that resistance, the Truist target starts to feel less aspirational and more plausible. On the downside, Any break below $160 would raise questions about whether the recent rally was too much too fast. But right now, the tone is constructive. Buyers are showing up, and the news flow is supportive. One thing to keep in mind is that the geopolitical backdrop hasn't gone away. Export restrictions to China remain a headwind, and AMD has already acknowledged that these could cut as much as $1.5 billion from 2025 revenue. There are also potential tariff risks if policy shifts. These factors will continue to create volatility, and investors shouldn't assume a straight line higher. But what Tuesday's action shows is that even with those risks, the market is willing to focus on the positives when the fundamentals line up. As we move into the rest of the week, keep an eye on three dynamics. First, whether we get more institutional support through analyst commentary or fund buying. Second, whether AMD or IBM release more details about their quantum collaboration. And third, whether hyperscaler commentary continues to validate the idea that AMD is moving from outsider to credible player in AI infrastructure. Any one of those developments could add fuel to the story. So, where does this leave AMD heading into the next stretch of trading? In a strong position. The stock has consolidated nicely after earlier volatility, the narrative is broadening in its favor, and Wall Street is beginning to recognize the potential upside. That doesn't eliminate the risks, but it gives investors reasons to believe that AMD's best chapters are still ahead. If you step back and think about where AMD was 5 years ago compared to now, the transformation is remarkable. From chasing Intel in CPUs and struggling to gain relevance in data centers, to now being upgraded by major analysts on the back of AI credibility and cutting-edge partnerships, the journey has been dramatic. Tuesday's rally is just one more step on that path, but it's a step that suggests investors are ready to see AMD as more than just a challenger. It's becoming a leader in its own right. And that's the story we'll be following into the weeks ahead.